welcome back to Football League World TV. We've got the midweek review for you this morning, looking back on some of the action from across the Championship, League One and League Two from the last couple of nights. I'm your host, Alfie Burns, and joining me are two colleagues, Ben and Billy. Ben, how are you this morning?
Yeah, all right. Just still defrosted, I think, from the top row of the Tom Finney stand that they did there last night. Should have seen a win for PNE, but not to be. Looking forward to reviewing some of the exciting midweek action we've seen in all three leagues.
Yeah, good stuff. Billy, how are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Yeah, as Ben says, looking forward to getting through some absolute corkers from the EFL over the last couple of days. Some big matches in the Championship and League One, and a big one in League Two as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Absolutely. We're streaming across Facebook, YouTube and Twitter this morning. So as always, if you want to get in touch with us, get yourselves in the comments and we'll get your comments up on the show. Whether you want to discuss any of the games that we're discussing or a game that you were at, please do get in touch. As we always do, we're going to kick things off with the Championship. First up, then, we're going to look at Tuesday night's win for Derby County. They were 3-1 winners over Hull City. A goal and an assist for Tom Lawrence and Craig Forsyth with a goal at each end. Quite an eventful evening for him. Derby the winners then, and now 4 points from safety. You know, the Great Escape looks like it might be on. Ben, how much credit do you think, Derby deserve, first of all, for this performance against Hull and getting over the line, but also just how they're going about the business with all the off-field disruptions at the minute?
No, it's amazing. I think first and foremost, credit has to go to Wayne Rooney for turning it around. I think last season at the back end of the season, I think it was kind of, criticised, and he's kind of managerial acumen was kind of being questioned, wasn't it, after doing a relegation battle? But what he's been doing with the squad he's got, it's kind of threadbare, and a few injuries will kind of put that to the test if it happens. But I think with the likes, Ebisele, the rumours that came out about him talking to Udinese, and he comes and puts in a performance like that in a man of the match winning performance, it was just testament to how Rooney's getting on playing, and against a team that's, apart from the result against PNE on Saturday, being in a really good form as well in Hull. So I think it was a really good win. I think with how Reading are playing in particular, I think Derby can really get out of this. I think I predicted a few weeks ago that I think they'll do it and turn it around, and I'm seeing no signs that that should be any different. Like you said, 4 points from safety. Playing the right way, and I think if they didn't have that 21-point deduction being around the playoffs, so I think that's testament to what Rooney's doing right now.
Absolutely. Two sides in real contrasting form there. As you mentioned, Ben, Derby and Reading, Reading are falling towards the bottom three now, and Derby surely have them in their sights. As for Hull, Billy, we'll just touch on the fact that Grant McCann's gone, and it's been back-to-back defeats for Hull. What's your sort of thoughts on the Tigers at the minute? I felt that this was quite a limp performance.
Yeah, it's disappointing because obviously when Grant McCann was dismissed, he was in great form with Hull, and it looked like he was building something. They sort of shrugged off that Championship hoodoo that he's had. So when he left, I think there was this element of disappointment, but sort of optimism that Shutter would come in and carry on this form. But the fact that he hasn't probably puts a little bit more pressure on him than he probably would have been under should the situation have been normal when the owners came in. So it's quite disappointing for Hull. I still feel that their players that they did recruit in January are still adapting to the style of play. Of course, the existing players are now adapting to Shutter's new style of football, and I think it will take some time, but I think this season now it does appear that relegation is not going to be on the cards. You can't really see a relegation scrap for Hull at this point. They're 12 points clear still, and the three teams in the relegation zone, bar Derby, and you probably chuck Reading into that, are really struggling at the moment. So I think this season now becomes about giving yourself a platform to build upon. End the season strong and go into the summer and have a clear direction and identity under Shutter.
Absolutely. Hull will be looking to get back to winning ways as soon as possible. On to Wednesday night's action, then a couple of games that we're going to touch on. Blackburn 0, Nottingham Forest. 2 goals from James Garner and Brennan Johnson seal the win for Forest. Darragh Lenihan with a red card for Blackburn. We'll start with Blackburn, who've slipped out of the top 2 now after this result. You know, they've surrendered quite a good position and appear to have lost all momentum that they were building under Tony Mowbray. Ben, do you think that Blackburn have got it in them to turn things back around and get that momentum back?
Not sure I'm the right person to be asking about this, anyhow. Not sure. I think the Blackburn fans I know have been saying that February's the kind of month in history that they've kind of faltered and results haven't been going their way. To be fair, I thought with the January signings they made, Zafiric and, Giles, I thought they were 2 really smart additions. I thought they could keep the momentum up, but the loss against Swansea, I thought they had chances and just didn't take them. And I did fear for them against Forest, obviously a team that are in really good form, aside from the odd slip up. And it turns out that, they just got put to the sword. And obviously the Lenihan red card didn't help. I am worried about the depth up front, the likes of Kadra and Dole, exciting players, but whether they have the end product consistently to keep them in that promotion running. I think Diaz needs a lot of help at the top end of the pitch. It is hard to see him sustaining that, especially when you see the form that the likes of, Sheffield United and Forest are in, and Borough coming in behind them. And Bournemouth, I think, with their signings can turn things around. So it is hard to see Blackburn keeping up that, run on the top 2. I thought with keeping the star players in January, it might have worked out, but they've got some tough games coming up. They've got Sheffield United, QPR and Fulham back to back after West Brom and Millwall. So, it's looking like it's going to be a tough run of games for them.
Yeah, they met an informed side in Nottingham Forest last night. They're up into 6th and really flying under Steve Cooper. We've just seen Desi's comment come up on screen there about the fact that he thinks they're outsiders for automatic promotion. Let's just focus on the playoffs for now because they are up into the playoff positions. Billy, do you feel that they're probably one of the favourites in a really tight pack of teams chasing the top 6? And I think that they're one of the favourites to sort of cement the place in the playoffs, given the form that they're in at the start of 2022.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you look at the teams at the moment that have been the chasing pack, the likes of Forest before yesterday, and Middlesbrough and Sheffield United. Those seem the teams that actually will go on to secure them at the moment. We've seen West Brom drop out. We're seeing Huddersfield, and it's sort of a little bit of uncertainty whether they can maintain their form. And I think that's just a credit to the job that Steve Cooper has done. I've seen a stat that it's since Steve Cooper was appointed, only Fulham have taken more points, which again is a great testament to what he's done at the club. And it feels years ago now that we were talking about Forest as actual relegation candidates at the start of the season. And again, that just goes to show how brilliant of a job he's doing at the club. And it doesn't seem like it's going to stop here. It seems that they've got all the tools in place to keep going. And as Des's comment says there, the playoffs are, sort of a minimum requirement now, and the automatics are really there for the taking, because teams competing for them at the moment haven't really shown the best of form, and they'll be very, very nervous about what Forest can do, because what they've done against Premier League clubs as well in recent weeks. And yeah, I think he's got things completely right, Steve Cooper, in terms of the January transfer window as well. I think he got that completely right. So yeah, it does seem that we're waiting on Forest to continue on their upward trajectory, and it would be no surprise if they're sort of battling it out with Sheffield United or Middlesbrough, even for automatic promotion as things stand.
Yeah, from one form side in Forest to another in Sheffield United. They were 2-0 winners over West Brom last night. I was there at Bramall Lane for Football League World. Billy Sharp with a brace to secure the win for Sheffield United. Defeat for Steve Bruce, of course, in his first game in charge of West Brom, who also saw captain Jake Livermore sent off in the first half. We'll start with the Blades. 5 goals in 5 games for Billy Sharp, and he's rolling back the years once more. Ben, how does he keep doing it at 36 years old?
Not sure. He's just been a natural goal scorer for a number of years, hasn't he? And I think with Heckingbottom coming in and I think setting up in a more attacking system, I think he's just, thriving wherever he plays with. He was kind of forging a partnership with Brewster, wasn't he, before he got that awful hamstring injury. And, whether it's McBurney, McGoldrick, or if Daniel Jemison ends up coming in, I think he'll thrive with anyone. I think despite a lot of, groans when he came in, I think Heckingbottom's got him, playing winning football, good football. And, with the squad they've got, you kind of expected it from the start of the season. The kind of, at the minute, fulfilling what you expected of them, in August and September when they were kind of faltering. But yeah, as for Sharp, doesn't look like he's going to stop, scoring these goals. He's still a portrait at this age. He's doesn't stop running at the age of 36. He's definitely still a live wire for his age and striking fear into Championship defences like he always has done.
Yeah, absolutely. As for West Brom, bit of a mixed evening. Sam Johnson with a really good performance. He pulled off 2 unbelievable saves in the second half. Jake Livermore's challenge on Conor Hourihane for the red card was reckless and probably unneeded. Bruce wasn't happy with the dismissal, but it was a bit of a strange challenge for him to make, sort of deep in Sheffield United's half. So it was a tough night for Bruce, really, on his return to management. Billy, how do you sort of feel like this result and performance from West Brom, do you think it sort of underlines how much of a job he's got at the Hawthorns, Bruce?
Yeah, again, I think we're seeing a team in West Brom who looked very much set for playoffs and automatic contention a couple of months ago in terms of their performances and in terms of where they were heading. And Sheffield United were, the outside team, but the roles are reversed and now Ishmael's gone. I think it's a good opportunity for Steve Bruce to come in and play a slightly different brand of football, be slightly less insistent of operating with a 3-4-3 and be more flexible in that respect. But yeah, I do think it's a massive job in his hands. And West Brom, I think, looking statistically, don't have the hardest of run-ins, but it's still going to be a very, very difficult task for him to come in and start winning games pretty much straight away. I think Sheffield United away has to be one of the hardest destinations to go at the moment. So I don't think West Brom fans will be too disheartened. It won't be, the be all and end all, because it's such a difficult place to get a point, let alone come away with all 3, especially with the form they're in. So yeah, it's a hard one for West Brom fans who typically associate themselves with dominating the Championship, but they're in this transitional period, and obviously things didn't work out with Valérien Ismaël, and some fans weren't too happy with the appointment of Steve Bruce, but I don't think we can judge him yet, and I just think that he is a man that will definitely get them to where they should be in terms of sort of the performances they put in. They won't get dominated in games, but yeah, it's whether they can progress under him, which is sort of the factor that I don't know yet.
Yeah, big couple of weeks for West Brom to see if they can break back into the playoffs. They fell out of the top 6 last night after that defeat. League One up next. I'm going to look at Cheltenham's 2-1 victory over Sunderland. Elliot Bonds and Alfie May with goals for Cheltenham to turn things around after Alex Pritchard had given Sunderland the lead on Tuesday night. This was a big win for Cheltenham. But Ben, was it really a surprise given Sunderland's current struggles?
I think it still was a surprise, yeah. I mean, it was about 13 games they hadn't won, Cheltenham, and I think Sunderland would have been looking to prove a point after losing to bottom of the league Doncaster at home, but they just proved a point in the wrong way and ended up being ahead and losing, which was a bit of blow for their fans. And it was clear that the new managers really needed to be appointed quickly and probably should have been done before the Cheltenham game, just to try and give them a little boost. And I think we've just come on air at 10 o'clock. It's come out that Roy Keane's no longer in the running for the job, so I don't think that's going to ease the pressure on the board right now. I think they really need to make an appointment quickly to try and turn the season around. Obviously, they're still in the top 6, but everyone around them's got games in hand, and they're kind of slipping away from that top 2 race. It's going to take a lot of wins, put together, and Wigan potentially dropping points. I think Rotherham might be kind of, grinding the way to promotion already. But I think Sunderland, the last few games, just not been good enough for the squad they've got. It's an exciting squad for League One, and the results just haven't been matching up to it.
No, absolutely. The Sunderland fans, it has to be said, after this defeat, are absolutely livid at how long an appointment's taken after sacking Lee Johnson. Billy, how much pressure do you think's on the board at the Stadium of Light at the moment?
Oh, a lot of pressure. As Ben says, you just can't believe a decision has not been made yet, because they're in this situation, sort of a desperate situation, where the automatics is still a possibility. He's quickly dying at the moment, but to sack a manager with automatics still very much in sight and not replace him imminently is something that is unacceptable. And fans are really, really voicing their opinions at the moment. I don't know if it does indicate that they were very much set on Roy Keane, and now that sort of talks are broken down, it's left them a little bit in limbo, and the sort of prolonging the process a little bit more. Still some very good managers associated with this job. Grant McCann is a top manager in my eyes. He was doing a really good job at Hull before they parted company, and he's someone that's got that experience of leading the side to League One glory. I think Alex Neil also in the running, another manager that's seen sort of tremendous success in the Championship. And it does seem, because of the job and because it is Sunderland, they do manage to attract some very high level managers. It's just now sticking with one and putting full faith into them and doing this very quickly, because it's getting to a point where it's becoming a little bit silly how long the actual process has taken.
Yeah, Sunderland will be looking over their shoulders, and one club that they'll be looking at over their shoulders is Sheffield Wednesday. A 4th win on the bounce this week with a 1-0 victory over second place Wigan Athletic at Hillsborough. Barry Bannon's penalty, the difference there, and it was a good evening for Sheffield Wednesday. They limited Wigan to only 1 shot on target on the way to another victory at Hillsborough. They're ticking along nicely now, the Owls under Darren Moore. Ben, how important is their form at Hillsborough going to be to clinching a place in the playoffs this season?
I think very important, and I don't think it's just the form at Hillsborough. They've been playing well everywhere at the minute. I think it's 4 wins in a row and 4 clean sheets, and obviously I think players coming back from injuries help. Luongo coming into the midfield has been out most of the season, and I think it's pretty well documented his injury troubles in the last few years, and a player of his quality of an Australia international in League One is, along with Barry Bannon, that's just a very good midfield for this level. And getting Jordan Story in as well at the back's kind of shored things up. I think he's still got players to come back from injury. Harley Dean's on the sidelines very quickly. Josh Windass is back on there, and Iofa's got to come back as well. So the fact of getting these results with key players out is a very kind of exciting time for Sheffield Wednesday. I know they had kind of a lull in the season where they were kind of just getting draws or not winning when they should have been, but they're kind of playing teams off the park now. The Plymouth result a few weeks ago stands out in my mind, when they had 22 shots and won convincingly. And pushing aside a strong Wigan team who, they've been stuttering recently with draws and kind of unconvincing victories. But I think Sheffield Wednesday are definitely showing their kind of playoff credentials, and I would be shocked if they weren't in there to keep up this form.
Yeah, absolutely. Bannon stating after the game that him and his teammates are quietly confident about promotion this season. So confidence definitely building within the Owls' camp. As for Wigan, they're still second in the table, a very strong position, but Rotherham are motoring on at the top of the division, and MK Dons are putting the pressure on second placed Wigan, who are without a victory in 3 now. Billy, they're going to have to get back to winning ways sooner rather than later. They've got all these games in hand, the Latics, but they could do with getting some points on the board, couldn't they?
Yeah, very much so. The sort of thing when I come to think of Wigan at the moment, and in the context of the rest of the season, is that they don't really, they respond to setbacks very well. When inconsistencies creep in, they manage to get back out of that quite quickly. You think of Sunderland this season, the sheer amount of games they've dropped points when they really shouldn't. That hasn't typically happened with Wigan when they've lost or dropped points. It tends to be against very good sides that play very well against them. So in that respect, I think that's going to bode well for them in terms of them not dropping out the picture altogether. I think that they've got some really good characters within the squad. I think having James McLean, having Graham Shinney and Glenn Ray coming into the side now, I think they're all people that obviously have a higher level experience, but also have those sort of leadership qualities that are needed in a promotion chase. So I think at the moment, I'm not too worried for them. They've come up against a very, very strong Sheffield Wednesday side who have been, as Ben said, have been in excellent form in recent weeks, and they'll be not so quietly confident because Barry Bannon has come out and said they're confident now, but they'll have every little faith that they can go on to secure promotion, just like Wigan.
Finally, we're just going to brush over League Two and a standout piece of news from the division. Scunthorpe 1, Walsall 0. Jay Rose goal, the difference there. Tom Pugh was sent off for Scunthorpe, but Walsall couldn't find a late equaliser. Victory for Scunthorpe ends a winless 7 defeats on the trot, should I say. It was important for Scunthorpe to get this win to sort of almost keep their season alive and keep them within touching distance of safety, wasn't it, Ben?
Yeah, it was, but I still kind of worry that it might be too little, too late. I think they had a little spell after Keith Hill came in where they had a few kind of exciting draws, and this is obviously the first win in a while. But I think with Carlisle 5 points ahead of them in the game in hand in 22nd, I think that I don't want it to be a false dawn for the fans, but with the form they have been showing recently, I think that it might well be, Walsall being in really bad form as well. This is their 7th loss in a row. So I think Scunthorpe may have just caught Walsall at the right time. But there's nothing really in Scunthorpe's squad that, excites me to the point where I think they can, get out of it. But fair play to them. They held on for the whole of the second half with 10 men. It's definitely going to be a battle to get out of that bottom two, because I think Oldham will end up getting out of it because John Sheridan seems to have turned them around very quickly. But if they can, keep that battle up to the final few weeks, Scunthorpe, then, they might have a chance. But I think they just caught Walsall at an opportune time here.
Yeah, Walsall might be one of the sides that Scunthorpe are eyeing. I wouldn't say that they're out of their range at this point. Walsall in absolute free fall at the moment, as Ben mentioned, 7 defeats on the bounce. Matty Taylor has lost his job at Walsall on the back of this. Billy, do you think that was the right call?
Yeah, I do think it's the right call. As Ben said, and as you say, they're in absolute free fall at the moment, and it's for that reason I'm a little bit more optimistic about Scunthorpe's chances, because Walsall are in such terrible form, and the fact that it doesn't seem that there'll be a club that benefit from a new manager bounce, because I don't think that the problem it was in Matty Taylor. I think it's deep within the club. He wasn't dealt the best cards, Matty Taylor. So in terms of him being sort of solely responsible, I don't think he can take much of the blame. And yeah, I think they're in a very, very difficult position where I think both Scunthorpe and Oldham and even Carlisle will be viewing them as a team that they can displace and provide a bit of optimism that they can actually get out of the situations they are. Be interesting to see what kind of way they go in terms of new manager. It seems that they need a manager to avoid a manager that's more project based at this time, because they need the instant results, the instant success to get away from the free fall that they're currently under. So not a very good situation at all at Walsall, and it's not a very attractive job given that the problems I think lie deeper in the club.
Absolutely, work to do for Taylor's successor for sure. And that concludes this morning's review show. Thanks to Ben and Billy for joining me, and anybody that's joined us across Facebook, YouTube and Twitter and got themselves in the comments. There's plenty still coming up on Football League World TV this week with tomorrow's, you know, 2 staple shows on the channel, the EFL betting show, and then the weekend preview, another, you know, lots of intriguing action right across all 3 divisions. So please do join us for that, and we'll see you again soon.